Hello, friends. How are you? So, by the way, Digital Dharma is out in case you want to read it. How AI can elevate spiritual intelligence and personal well-being. And you can obviously connect with me on digitaldeepak.ai, have a conversation with my twin, and much, much more. So, welcome. Today, I want to share with you something very interesting and important. And I hope you'll relish this insight. So think of what you had last night for dinner. And in your mind's eye, see who you were with, what you ate, what it tasted. Now think of something from your teenage years or your college years. See the image, feel the sensations, images, hear the conversation. Now think of something from your childhood, maybe your school, your parents, your siblings, your bedroom, your toys. Same thing. Okay. Now look at your body. Look at me if you recognize me. In all these instances, you were tapping into a memory. Okay. In all these instances, you were tapping into a memory. Even when you look at your body, the reason you recognize it is because of a memory. And by the time you recognize it, the body is already transformed, but you recognize the pattern, the archetype. Recognize, you remember. And then what we call imagination is a projection of that. And what I'm saying to you right now, that's all we experience. We only experience memories and imagination. What we call now has no images, no sensations, no thoughts. It's undifferentiated presence. And that is the fundamental ground of all existence, undifferentiated presence, which then differentiates into many modes of knowing, many knowers, and almost infinite things known. Okay. So we just finished the Sages and Sciences conference, and Leonard Malodno was there. He's my co-author for War of the Worldviews. And the way I was introduced to Leonard was around 2012 or something. I was doing a debate with militant atheists, and the news reporter from ABC during an intermission said, Deepak Chopra, there's a physicist here who works with Stephen Hawking, and he thinks you're full of shit. And I said, okay, bring him on. So Leonard came to the microphone. He said, please define consciousness. And I said, it's the superposition of infinite possibilities. And he kind of smirked and said, I know what that means, but that's not consciousness. Superposition for possibilities of actualized appearances of particles, for so the way quantum mechanics understands superposition, it's the superposition of entangled particles before a measurement is made, and then you see one particle. And that's true. So, from Leonard's point of view, I was talking nonsense. And I should have qualified that. And now I'm qualifying that for you. It's the superposition of possibilities of knowing and experience. Superposition of possibilities for knowing and experience. So before you can call something a particle, you have to have an experience, whether it's through a hadron collider, whatever. And if consciousness is more fundamental than measurement, then that's the real reality. The non-local, undifferentiated consciousness that is a field of infinite possibilities for modes of knowing and experience. And those modes of knowing and experience are actually triggered by memory. That's it. Imagination and memory. What you experience as presence is undifferentiated non-local awareness, which is indeed a field of infinite possibilities for modes of knowing and experience. And, in physics, those modes of knowing and experience are particles. Okay, so what physics does is creates models of reality, and so does mathematics, so does every other thing, religion, science, spirituality, models of reality for modes of knowing and experience. And one of those models is quantum mechanics, the superposition of particles before the wave function collapses into a particular space-time event that we call a particle. But even that particle is a human mode of knowing and experience using sophisticated instruments, which are extensions of our senses. So, who are you? Undifferentiated. You are a field of infinite possibilities for modes of knowing and experience. However, those modes of knowing and experience collapse into familiar, repetitive modes of knowing and experience because of memory and imagination. And that's all we experience, memory and imagination. If you want to really go to the source of all creativity in the universe, then you have to question repetitive modes of knowing and experience. It's almost like Schrodinger's wave function, statistical likelihood of modes of knowing and experience triggered by karma, memory, and desire. But if we want to go to the source, then we have to go from all these differentiated modes of knowing and experience to the undifferentiated, infinite possibilities of modes of knowing and experience. And that can only happen when we discard all systems of thought, because systems of thought are maps, not the territory, whether they're religion or philosophy or theology or science. Okay, they're models. We need to go beyond the models and see the world as if for the first time. And that is what a motley group of sages, scientists, geniuses, and psychotics have access to. Let me know if this is useful. Okay, thanks.